Well, Dr. Revis, we've got a lot to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to week 2 of MELS 601. Again, we're so thankful that you have chosen to be a part of this program, and we're so glad to see you in week 2. That means that you are really considering passing boot camp with us over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So thank you for showing back up. Dr. Revis, I think both of us have heard from several of the students just with the emails or text messages, and very positive, just very quick to the point, and I think that a lot of them have already begun to figure out the process. We have access of going into Blackboard and actually seeing when you are in there working, when you're doing things. We can't see what you're doing until you submit the work, but we know when you're working. We actually know to the second the times that you're doing things. So that's pretty good on our part, because if any of you are not where you're supposed to be, guess who you're going to hear from? You're going to hear from Dr. Revis and me, and we're going to say, why is there not evidence that you've been in there and you've done something? So I felt like you needed to know that we can, we're like Big Brother, I guess, Big Mama, Big Brother, whatever. We can keep up with a lot of things, and that's not to be in privacy invasion or anything like that, but it's important that we do, that we can keep up with you, and know if there's any trouble areas or whatever. But very quickly, one of the things I just wanted to go over, and you can find this on your week 2 agenda, but I just wanted to let you know that we're going to quickly just do a Blackboard overview. Well, Blackboard overview will be a part of what Dr. Revis and I will be explaining to you tonight. We're not going to do it separately, but we will be referring back to Blackboard and showing you where you need to be placing work, where you need to find things or whatever. So we'll be doing that. We're going to do a quick overview again of the AAPSL Task 1, but we're not going to camp out with Task 1. We're going to do a quick overview, and then following the quick overview, we're going to just pause for a second to answer any questions that you may have, because Task 1 is due to us by this Sunday at 9 o'clock for review. But in addition to that, Dr. Revis, they've got to also, once it's submitted on Sunday night before class next Tuesday, you have to also get involved in the peer review process, which Dr. Revis is going to lead in that discussion tonight. I will assist with it, and we're going to show you what has to be done with that as well. So we've got a lot of moving parts of this process that's going to start tonight. And then once that's done, then we are going to introduce you to Task 2, simply because there will be some of you that we clear on Sunday night. Some of you, and I hope it's all of you or most of you, we're going to say, excellent work. You've done exactly what you need to do. Begin working on Task 2. We're not going to hold you back. So it's important that we go over those things. So Dr. Revis, while I'm pulling up something, if you would go ahead and greet the class and fill in the blanks with anything that I would have missed.
Okay, a couple of questions came to me this week, and I'm glad that I got these questions, because it helps me remember that we didn't mention anything about what word processing document that we will use. You must, and I underscore the word must, use Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word. So don't use Google Docs or anything else. Use Microsoft Word as the document in which you submit all of your work. And I think that as the Gardner-Webb student, you get a free Microsoft account. You used to. I don't hold me to that, but we used to have that for you if you don't have that. The other thing I want to ask you to do is please make sure you number your pages. Number your pages, and that just helps me and Dr. Stedman give you feedback. For example, we may get as specific to say, check your APA style at the bottom of page 2. And you heard Dr. Stedman mention the thing about peer reviews. Also, that will help your peers the most specific feedback possible. Okay, so those are 2 things that I had on my list to remind you of. Dr.
Okay.
Stedman?
And Dr. Revis, they'll get the rest of it. You'll get on Thursday evening. Please, please, please try your best to be with us on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. Dr. Hamilton and Dr. Revis are going to lead in a very, very important discussion on APA 7th edition and the items that more specifically relate to the work you have to do. There's a lot in APA, and some of you will have to occasionally go outside of the realm of what Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton will be talking about on Thursday night. But for the most part, you will get on Thursday night all of the ins and outs about what we expect of you as it relates to APA 7th edition. On the screen, can you see the screen, Dr. Revis?
Yes.
Okay, on the screen, this is a quick look at AAPSL Task 1. And I want you to listen. Don't raise your hand right now. Don't ask questions. Just hold off and just listen right now. Just for clarity, if you're having concerns about anything, and even if you think you understand everything, listen just in case, because we're going to do this pretty quickly and then we're going to move on. But remember, in number 1, your school profile. Your school profile must tell the story of your school. I'm not going to go back into the specifics of that again. There's examples in Blackboard under your AAPSL helpful hints and your template information. Go back and look at that. Look at the examples. Make sure that you write professionally. Make sure that you edit carefully for grammatical issues. Make sure that you are looking specifically to ensure that you are following APA 7th edition with this. Dr. Revis, anything else you can think of on the school profile that we may? I will tell you, make sure that you look at how to write numbers and when to write numbers, because you do have numbers and percentages that's listed many times in your school profile, and many times students miss that. Go back and review the section on writing numbers, and Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton will talk about that again specifically on Thursday night. Dr. Revis, would you quickly review the PLC research?
Of course. So your first section after your school profile is titled PLC Research. Now, friends, I cannot emphasize enough about the usefulness of your helpful hints. I would pull that document off, and I know you're more technologically oriented than I am, but I would print that document because that gives you step by step each section, and then it gives you a little example of what should be included in that section. But this is research. This is not what you do in your school. This is not what you think a PLC must be. This is what the research says. One of your references or resources has to be from Richard DeFore. And if you will look in the AAPSL template and materials, you've got all kinds of resources listed there. So you would want to include a discussion about what is a PLC, what does a good one look like, how is a good one conducted, what are norms, etc. But again, this is what the research says.
And Dr. Revis, again, with DeFore, remember, you're doing research. So you would say, according to DeFore, and you would put the, the correct date there or whatever, and then you would continue with it. Many of you are going to say, well, I can have my APA checked with this program that I can. And so guess what? Those programs, do not work. They will get your stuff wrong. Do not count on a program editing your APA. Students have done that in the past, and we have to send it back because it's not correct. It will not put your APA, your commas especially, are very often put in the wrong places. So don't count on an APA program to edit for your comma usage and things like that. You have to know this stuff. And then after you do it a few times, it becomes almost second nature, but you've got to learn how to do it. Well, then next is your PLC member selection. And again, your PLC members are going to be people that you want to be on your team, that's going to work with you, that's going to devote the time when you have to meet with them, and hopefully they can meet with you as often as possible when you do meet. But this needs to be a positive group of people that's going to embrace you being in this program and the research and the work that you've got to do. Again, why did you choose them? What are their strengths? You're going to talk about teacher A, teacher B, or PLC member A, PLC member, because it may be a counselor, it may be a literacy coach, it could be an assistant principal or the principal, but you're going to talk about their strengths and their educational credentials, etc. We should know something about them and why they are worthy of being chosen to be on that team. Don't make it a large team. Going back to establishing your PLC, remember that your job right now is only to do research, to find your members, and then Dr. Evans is going to talk about the first meeting in just a moment. You're not attacking any problem right now. You're not trying to solve anything. All you're doing is getting everything set up to be able to start that process. And we're going to talk about that in task 2. So with task 1, you again follow the template that we've given you. Again, remember we said that if it's in black, it stays. That if it's in yellow, that means you've got to write something. There's narrative work there. And if it's in red, that those are some suggestions of things that you need to put in there. But at the end of the work that you submit for our review and the final 4 grade, everything should be in black as far as your narrative work is concerned. All the yellow highlighting should come out. All of the red must be taken out. Dr. Revis, their first meeting.
Okay, I like to think of this first meeting, which you should hold this week, as being your organizational meeting. And it must be very clear in your narrative writing that you were the one leading and facilitating this discussion about the vision and purpose of the PLC. Now, this is not the vision and purpose of your school, but it's about what are we going to do in the PLC? This is the purpose of the PLC. This is where you very clearly talk about, we're here to talk about student achievement, student learning, our performance and our growth. You will want to prepare an agenda, and you will have that agenda and put that as one of your artifacts in your appendices. You will establish norms, and you'll discuss how you did that. What norms did you come up with? And there are excellent materials in the AAPSL template and materials section in Blackboard to help you with this.
Okay, and then again, this meeting, it doesn't have to be a long meeting either. You know, this is just your introductory meeting. 15, 20 minutes at the most, I would think. Wouldn't you, Dr. Revis? It doesn't have to be a long meeting. You're getting the process started. And then after that, you're going to have a reference section done APA style. Guess what? You're going to have at least 3 references in there. Guess where they're going to come from? They're going to come from the PLC research. Now, you may have more, but you're going to have at a minimum 3 references under this section. So you must have a reference section. It must be in this order. It follows number 4. And then after that, there is an appendices section. And at a minimum, you're going to put in there your email that where you have taught with your principal, but you have emailed your principal asking permission to conduct the PLC and asking permission to form your PLC committee, your team. So you're asking permission and an affirmative response back. Again, if there are any of you that are having issues with forming the PLC, make sure you reach out to your clinical coach 1 immediately. In fact, they said tonight that some of you have not responded back to their request for meeting. Check your GWU email every day, more than 1 time a day, but check after this meeting tonight and make sure that you've responded back to your clinical coach 1 so that they can go ahead and get this meeting scheduled with you and your site administrator. Another thing that you would want to put in your appendices is an agenda of the meeting that you've had. And number 4, an agenda of that meeting. You may want to put a roster of them signing in, who attended the meeting. And then I would consider having someone to take a picture of me presenting and put that picture in there. That serves as an artifact, and you'll be able to use these things later on when we begin talking about building your competency folio that you'll learn about later on. And just a reminder, did you follow the template with correct headings and subheadings, and did you use APA 7th edition? Those are important things that you must remember. Again, make sure that you are using the AAPSL template. Make sure that you are following, that you're using the AAPSL helpful hints document. Make sure that you are using the full AAPSL example that we have in Blackboard for you. Okay, before we move any further, are there any questions? Now, we don't want to beat a dead horse to death anymore. We shouldn't have to go back and we can't talk a lot about your work specifically. That will be at the end. But for clarity purposes, is there anybody that has a question about task 1, task 2, part 1, part 2, part 3, or part 4 of task 1 of the app? So Ruby.
Good evening, all.
Yeah.
I just have just a few quick questions just for a little clarity. I know that when we were discussing about the school profile and getting that information, whether the student number, the demographics, percentages, whether or not for the race background, so on and so forth. And when it comes to it, so I am a school counselor. I have access through Power School for that. Would I use Power School as a reference? Or would I have to go online and use, like North Carolina?
Power School is not a reference.
Okay, I'm just making sure. That's
okay. Power School would not be a reference. You would need, where did that information come from?
Okay, all right.
Dr. Revis, wouldn't you say so?
Yes, I would cite it from my North Carolina school report card.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure on that one.
Sure.
Also within the meeting and establishing the norms, would I also be needing like a recorder, a note taker, so on and so forth? Would I need that for each meeting?
I would establish that during this meeting and find out who's going to do what, and then those will be pretty consistent throughout the process. I mean, if somebody's not there, somebody else will fill in the gap. But I would go ahead and just identify those people to begin with, Ruby.
Okay. And lastly, when it comes to creating an agenda, and I know especially needing this for our artifacts, we would need a weekly agenda, or just for each time that we are meeting, always have an agenda. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes, you always want to have an agenda, and that's proof. That's part of the proof that you are working and leading a PLC.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. Thank you all.
Good
Thank
question.
you.
Okay. Anything else about the profile or 1, 2, 3, and 4? Okay, I know what it was, Dr. Revis. As you are creating your PLCs, some of you are in unique situations, and Kathleen, I'm going to pick on you for a second. Like, Kathleen is a psychologist, okay? So she's going to be working with the person that is over the psychologist in Cumberland County. However, the work that you do, Kathleen, and this is to several others, even though you work at the central office level, the work you do must be specific to a school. So you need to make sure that you, and I think you already know that, all of you make sure that if you're working in a unique situation like Kathleen is, and your PLC is going to be with peers that you work with, that the work that you do with your PLC is specific to a school. And you will pull the data and the information for a school in your district. And that's probably, Kathleen, going to be the same school where you're going to conduct part of your internship and do some of the work that you may want to consider that as well, any of you. Okay.
Yeah, I just was going to say, because I was thinking about that. So I was going to frame it to my other psychologists that we would look at the data and kind of go through that together for one school, but then they would be able to, if we found something that worked well, they could then do that at their own schools.
Right.
So
And
to make it applicable to them, because they don't really want to spend a bunch of time doing stuff on my schools if they can't apply it at theirs.
right. And so, and you and I will talk more specifically about that tomorrow when I meet with you, okay? But I just wanted to know that if that applies to you, then, make sure that you have identified a school that you're going to be doing getting your information work, and you're going to identify a problem at that school that's going to help that principal. Okay, so just make sure on that. Dr. Revis, did you want to add anything to what I just said on that?
No, that's perfect. I just want to reiterate one thing that we talked about last week. When you go into this meeting, do not start the meeting by saying we're going to look at fluency because our reading scores are low. This is an organizational meeting. Let your data analysis that you do in task 2 determine what you're going to look at. Okay. Now, your principal may tell you, I want you to look at math scores. If the principal tells you to do that, then that's what you're going to look at. But what you're going to do when you look at those math scores is you're going to determine the biggest need in task 2 with the math scores.
And I just answered Jolene's message. She said, but I'm going to reiterate this. Since we have a template, can we just make a copy and add our information to it and add page numbers? Absolutely. Use the template, and you're going to use that template and fill in the blanks with your information, your writing, your research, your data. Okay. Okay. Remember, no later than 9 o'clock Sunday, we should have task 1 submitted to us for review. If you finish it before then, get it. Don't wait until 9 o'clock. Get it to us. And Dr. Revis and I, we look at stuff periodically throughout the day. So if I have, even if I'm doing work at home on Saturday, which I have to on Saturday, then if I get tired of doing that, I'll come in my office and I'll work for an hour, or I may check. So, if you get it, I will give you feedback periodically. Before I go to church on Sunday, I get up early enough that I check all my work that's been submitted, so that Sunday morning that, I don't have to come back to it after church, or, something like that. So just get it to us as you can. It's important. If we do not get your work on Sunday night on schedule, guess what happens on Monday morning? We have to mark you absent. And that goes directly to Gardner Webb, and Gardner Webb will reach out to you about your absences if your work is not submitted on schedule. That's how they look at your attendance, based on your work being submitted in a timely manner. So make sure that you get your work in on schedule. So Dr. Revis, I'm going to turn it over to you at this time. And if you would lead in the peer review process.
Okay, just one more thing, guys. We try to give you very quick turnaround feedback. And so on Sunday afternoons, I am so busy. I am reading and I'm giving feedback. If you send me an email on Sunday asking me a question about the task that's due that night at 9 p.m., I'm probably not going to answer it.
Me
because
either.
I'm busy grading. So if you got questions, you need to ask them Saturday night or whatever, or Saturday afternoon. We look at our emails all the time. Every time I get an email, it comes up on my phone and I read it and respond. Unless, and I had to apologize to Melissa. She called me and for some reason I did not get your message, and I apologize, Melissa, but I always try to return phone calls. But don't be waiting until Sunday afternoon to start asking questions how to do task 1. That's too late. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about peer reviews. You heard Dr. Stedman say we've got peer reviews, and I want to share a little bit about the peer review process, and starting out with sharing about why we are doing peer reviews in the first place. Can you see my screen, Dr. Stedman?
Yes.
Okay. Let me. Every week, as soon as you turn in your work, you go to your peer review team and you start looking at people's work that you're going to review. You have to give feedback to 2 of your team members every week. And we're going to talk about that. Why? Well, there's several reasons. First of all, it gives you practice in giving quality feedback to adults. If you are outside of the classroom already in an administrative role or an instructional coach role or in the district office, you're probably very comfortable giving feedback to adults. But if you've been in the classroom, we're very comfortable giving feedback to our students, but not adults. So we're going to talk about that feedback, what it needs to look like, and what we're going to be looking for when we look at your feedback. Secondly, it provides feedback to your peers to help them improve their work. See, right now we are in a peer review phase. You're handing in your work to Dr. Stedman and I on Sunday night. We are going to review it. You're also going to get 2 of your peers to review it. Is that not amazing that you can get that kind of feedback before it's submitted for a final grade? There is no reason that any of you should have less than 100 on every assignment because you've got 3 people giving you feedback. And it also gives you an opportunity to see the work of others so you can think, wow, Kathleen, that was a great idea that you did in that section. I'm going to tweak mine so it looks like that too. Now, you're not going to plagiarize, but it's okay to get great ideas from others.
Dr. Revis,
No.
let's camp out there for just a minute.
Okay.
Talk about, because we've had to deal with plagiarism.
Yes, we have.
So let's go ahead and let's just hit the nail on the head. Let's talk about how we know if work is plagiarized, first of all.
Okay, well, first of all, before you can submit your final evidence work to TaskStream, you must run it through Turnitin. And of course, that's going to catch it's put up against, of course, all your literary works that are in the database, but also students and former students. So we've had to have some really tough conversations about plagiarism. Do your own work, period. It's okay to get an idea from somebody, but you don't take their work and you don't just change a few words and turn it in as your work. Now, friends, if you start reviewing somebody's paper and you think, wow, that's really close to what I said, then you need to get in touch with Dr. Stedman or me, because
And we've had to deal with that.
we've had to deal with that.
And we
Yes,
do
we
deal
have.
with it.
Yes, we have. Can't do that. So give resources or references for people's work, like when you do the research section, a PLC research section, you document your references and resources. And again, get ideas, but do not copy and change a few words and think that's okay and put it in your work. All right. Anything else we need to say there, Dr. Stedman?
No, I think they're grown. They've been through a master's program. They already know that. We just are reminding.
Okay. All right. So what makes good feedback? Well, as adults, we like to have the same type of feedback that you give your students. We want it to be authentic. We want it to be specific, giving examples. We want it to be immediate, timely, clean, not attached to anything else, and private or confidential. So those are the kinds of things that we like to see on your feedback. Feedback should be provided to your peers no later than Tuesday evening before class.
And we've got a specific time before class by 6 o'clock on Tuesday.
Right.
Dr. Revis and I should see all final peer reviews in, not 6:05, not 7 o'clock. When class starts, we want them by 6 o'clock every Tuesday.
And so you're probably thinking, wow, I'm going to turn my task 1 in again. As soon as you turn it in, start looking for your peer to review. And I'm going to now go into Blackboard, and let's look at your peer review teams. Over here, peer review materials on your sideboard. Click that. Now, again, I have my teams up here. So if you're in Dr. Stedman's class, you're not going to see your name here. So let's say I am in team 1. What you guys need to decide, and there's 6 of you right now. No, 1 dropped out. Erica dropped out today. I'm sorry. You need to decide, get together this week sometime and decide, Tara, who are you going to peer review? Well, Tara says, I want to do Connie and Marcella. Okay. Connie, who are you going to review? Well, I'm going to review Octavia and Dion, so on and so forth. So you decide who you're going to peer review. Now,
Dr. Revis, and again, it's okay if one of you wants to take the lead and set up a schedule. All of you, I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you do too. Some of you, one can say, okay, I'll, reach out to your team and say, I'll set up a schedule and this is what we'll follow if everybody's okay with that. That a lot of teams have done that and it works very well, Dr. Revis, when one person sets up the schedule for them.
right. Now, let's say that Tara is looking for Connie and Marcella's, and at 9 o'clock on Sunday evening, they hadn't turned theirs in. Well, Connie's turned hers in. So she's going to review Connie's. But Marcella, bless her heart, she didn't get it in on time. And she looks for it Monday morning, it's still not in. You have our permission to go on and review someone else's by Monday morning. Okay. So those are teams that are set up. So when you don't have your work in on time, not only are you going to get a nasty email from Gardner Webb saying you're absent, you'll probably get an email from us saying where's your work. You've let down your Zoom team members. They can't do their work. They're going to have to move on. So that means you're not going to get a peer review. Quite possible.
And if that happens, we're asking you If you have to review somebody other than the person you're supposed to, send Dr. Revis and or me an email letting us know that your person's work was not there, who it was, and whose you're going to be reviewing.
That's correct. So let's look at what the template looks like. You're going to go here to this template and pull it down. And you'll use this same template for everyone. If I am doing the peer review, this is where my name goes, and whose ever work I'm reviewing goes right here. There are 6 areas in which you have.
Dr. Revis, go back up there a minute, please. And then under the evidence artifact task, you need to put AAPSL task 1 or AAPSL task 2, AAPSL task 3. Make sure that you identify it there as well.
And there will not be a link. Okay.
Right.
So you've got a section called content, rubric strength, rubric weaknesses, leadership, mechanics, grammar, organization, and APA formatting. Now, I'm going to come back to this a minute with an example, but let me see, where is my non-example? I always like to put that up. I like to talk about what are non-examples, because I think that is just as important as a good example. Sometimes we learn just as much.
And you can find this in Blackboard under week 2.
Right. Okay. So I'm giving peer review feedback to Dr. Stedman's work. The task is aligned with the course content. Thank you for a great paper. What does that tell him? Nothing. The only downfall I saw was on the first page where the task direction was still highlighted in red. Well, okay. Yeah, that was that was specific feedback. Not a biggie though. Congrats on being an AP. Nothing to do with their work. Is RISE an acronym for something? Okay. Great organization, great formatting. This would get sent back to you. This is not feedback. It's not specific.
Dr. Revis?
Yes.
Let's be a little plainer with them. It will, you may, the first time, you may get an opportunity to say, we may say, we're not even going to grade this. You go back and you do what you're supposed to. The second time, you're going to get a 0, and we're not going to waste our time. You'll get a 0, and we'll tell you to do better the next time. Just do not turn in anything but acceptable work, and it should be everything that you should always be accomplished work to the best of your ability.
Now I'm going to show you a good example. Let me see, where is it? I think it's this one. I think this is the one I like. There are a couple in here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you see here, I have given several sentences there about my feedback. The rater is the evaluator or reviewer is very specific and not only points out weaknesses, but offers suggestion. Look how this person took and broke down into different sections, unpacking that rubric and noting the strengths of the work. You can learn so much when you give feedback. Look at how they talked about the community setting, staff and student and staff culture, diversity, and achievement. Again, they're giving a lot of feedback here. You may want to give a brief analysis of those statistics, explaining factors that influence your school score, and so on and so forth.
Dr. Revis, go back to rubric weaknesses again. This is a lot of times peers have a hard time telling a student that there's areas that they feel like could be improved. This is a part of giving adult feedback. You must feel comfortable in doing that. And again, it's not an attack on anybody. You say it very professionally. And at the end of the process, the person that is doing the review should learn from this. The person receiving the review should learn from it. However, Dr. Revis can do my review and I can thank her for it and I can look at it. But when I get through, I may not always agree with everything that Dr. Revis said. That's okay. You're learning in the process and you take what you feel is applicable to editing your work and you apply it to your work. It doesn't mean that you may not agree with everything that your person is saying. That's okay.
And so on. Notice there's nothing here about good job, nice work, none of that. Very specific. Look at this last one. Don't say something like this. As far as I know, your APA formatting is correct. Not as far as you know. You need to know it just like everybody, like they do. But even tells where to go. Figure 2. First citation and third citation. You want to check on that. It's incorrect. That means it's specific. I'm looking for thorough and specific feedback. And if it's not something on this line, you're not going to get 100. And we may let you redo it one time, but like Dr. Stedman said, we're not going to let you redo peer reviews. We've got to move too fast to do that.
Dr. Revis, where did you get that from? What you just had?
This is under peer review materials.
Hey, is the peer review feedback template example, right?
It's this one right here. Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's what I thought. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Daniel had asked, and I wanted everybody to see where this, again, you will either find it under the week, under AAPSL template and materials, or you can find it under the peer review materials. And sometimes you'll find them in more than one place. Okay.
All right. Now, how do you submit feedback to your peers? This is a little tricky. So everybody be on high alert. This is a little tricky. You've got to submit your feedback to your peers, and then you got to submit it to for our feedback. So you've got to submit it in 2 different places. All right. So Dr. Stedman, tell me where to go here to submit it to your peers.
Okay, go to and I'm just at peer, I'm looking. You got to give me time. My eyes don't always work as fast as.
I think it's discussion board, right?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yes. Go to
Right here.
discussion. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Go to discussion board, giving feedback to your peers. Go to discussion board. All right. You see this right here? For task 1, you've got 2 peer reviews. So you go there, open it up, create a thread, and send it to your person. That's my first one. I've got to do 2, right? So task 1, I'm still in task 1. Go create another thread and send it to your person. We got it? Send your peer reviews back to the author under discussion board. Now, to send your peer reviews to your instructors, on this side over here, AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox. Now, here's one thing I'll tell you if you're not careful. So it's a pain for us, not for you. You're not working in the AAPSL. Don't get down in here. Stay up here in the AAPSL, okay? Because if you put something under the AAPSL, we got to go release it. I mean, it's a headache. So just stay up here. AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox. Open it. You've got 2 drop boxes for task 1. Your first peer review and your second peer review. So you've got to upload each peer review separately for us to give you a grade on it.
So if I'm doing Dr. Revis and I'm doing Kathleen, then Dr. Revis is my first one. When I do Dr. Revis's, I put it in here for grade under task 1. When I do Kathleen's, I put task 1 peer review 2 with Kathleen's name on it. These are the same ones that you have submitted to discussion board to your peers. The same identical ones. So when you send them to your peers for review, you send them to us for a final grade, the same ones.
Okay. So Ruby, how do I send peer reviews back to the author? Where do I go?
Okay, you're going to go down to discussion board. And after you click the discussion board, you actually go to task 1, just depending on which assignment it is. Go to task 1 for peer instructor review. Click on that. After you do that, you hit create thread and submit it to your person. After that, you write it out, submit it to your person. Now, and this is the way that you send it to your author. So you're going to do it for your first one, and then you're going to do it for your second one. You go back out and you just do it again, depending on who your 2 peers are.
Okay. And who can tell me how I'm going to submit this to your instructors? Somebody raise your hand right quick, or I'll volunteer somebody.
I can do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So you go to your AAPSL where it says completed peer review Dropbox. And for each individual review, you upload in each individual review Dropbox. So task 1 has 2, task 2 has 2, and so on.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Courtney.
Welcome.
All right. And these are due by 6 o'clock on Tuesday evenings. All right.
Right. And one of the things that you'll find with your teams, and remember, there's either 5 or 6 people in your teams. So you go to your Zoom teams, and that's the same thing as your peer review teams as well. So you go there, and again, these are the people that you're specifically working with to do your peer reviews. So team 1 in Dr. Revis's class, this is the team that's going to be doing, working together the whole semester doing peer reviews. You don't go outside and go into team 2 or to team 3. You work specifically with your team with peer reviews.
And we had some people drop today. So we will go in and we will mark out or take off the people who were no longer with us. And I think that was mostly financial aid issues, wasn't it, Dr. Stedman?
That was it, yes.
Now, remember, you got to promise us before you withdraw and get upset and throw your hands up. Call us. Let us talk to you. Let us try to talk you off the ledge.
Dr. Revis, why that we still have just 3 or 4 people that have not completed their contact information. So get that to us. Get that to us immediately.
Yeah, be sure you put a phone number there. That's just, I don't usually use phone numbers, but sometimes your team members may want to text you or whatever. So be sure you put a good phone number and a little bit about yourself.
And team 1 in my class, I added Marguerite. Marguerite, do you go by Marguerite or Tracy? Okay, she's
Tracy, please.
Tracy, okay. Tracy
Yes.
us today. So please welcome Tracy to team 1. And Tracy, go ahead and get your contact information out so team one can go ahead and reach out to you. Okay.
Any questions on the peer review process?
You do not send your task to your reviewer. Your task, well, the task goes in for review, and I will tell you, only Dr. Revis and I will review your task. No, task one is reviewed by, that's where the review comes in. That's you don't send them.
Let me go back and
Dr. Revis, they're saying that show them where that they find the task for review.
okay.
That's
When
what
you-
they're asking.
Okay, when you turn your work in, task one, Sunday evening, you go right here where it says AAPSL task for review. The
Right.
first time you turn your work in, it's what we consider under review. All right. And so right there's where you turn it in. It's in a discussion board thread. That's what it is. Okay.
It is. And it's the same place where you did your contact information. And you will go to underneath that, you see where it says AAPSL task one for peer and instructor review. Everybody, God and all creation, can see your work.
And that's where we pick up your work. But our feedback to you is private, right,
Yeah.
Dr. Stedman?
Our feedback is private, yes.
Our feedback to you is private. Now, how do you get our feedback? Go to my grades. When you go to my grades, you're going to see where is AAPSL task one for right here, peer and instructor review. You'll see ours right there. Okay. We'll leave you comments.
And what we're going to do, we're either going to tell you, thanks, Melissa. We're going to tell you, excellent work, move on to the next task, or we're going to say, you need to go back and you need to edit for APA issues with in-text citations, or your headings are not correct, or you know, your appendices needs, you know, you've got them out of order, or we're going to tell you to look. Now, it's not our job, Dr. Revis, and our job to go through and to show you where every comma needs to go, to show you. We're going to tell you that there are issues. It's your job to fix the issues. If you don't understand, I mean, if you have a problem with comma usage or capitalization, you need to find somebody that's good in it that can help you with that. The peer reviews are going to help you a lot with that. Now, your peer reviews will be much more intense from your peers than they will be from Dr. Revis and me. We already know how to do it. You're learning how to do it. Okay, so we're not going to go back and be specific. We may pinpoint some things, but we're not going to go back and correct everything and tell you to go back and fix this and do it. You've got to figure it out. We will guide you in that process.
So if we tell you to fix some things, you got to fix them, guys. Don't just fix one or two and decide that, oh, well, this one's not important. No. And I'm pretty tough right out of the gate, particularly with AP. I want you to learn it. So I'm pretty tough on you. And I know Dr. Stedman is too, but yeah, we will expect, we want you to know very quickly what is the level of expectation of work. So if we tell you to fix 2 or 3 things, and what I'll do is I will say, resubmit here for another review. Then you need to have that fixed and resubmitted by Thursday evening.
Absolutely.
Right? Let me say that again. If we tell you to fix something or revise something, I guess is a better word.
I like fix.
You need to have it fixed and back to us in that same box, in that same, right here, in your same thread. Back to us by Thursday.
Okay.
Because then by Sunday night, the next Sunday night, you've got to turn it in right here where it says AAPSL assignment Dropbox. This is your final grade. We want your final grade to be 100. When you come out of review, we want it to be 100. Okay? So that's why you've got to get your revisions back to us by Thursday night. We look at them and we'll tell you you're ready to put in the Dropbox, or you're not ready yet.
Right.
Hopefully, don't send us back something that you've not gone through and corrected everything that we've told you to correct. Now, if one of your peers tells you to correct something and you don't agree with that, that's optional. But if I tell you to correct something or revise something, or Dr. Stedman tells you to revise something, that is not optional. You need to do it.
Dr. Revis, Tara asked a question. She said, when using the template for task 1, will we only copy and paste the template with our work where it ends prior to task 2? Yes. For task 1, you will submit task 1 only. And then when you go to task 2, task 1 and task 2 will not be submitted together. You will only submit task 2 when task 2 gets there. When it gets to task 3, only task 3. Now, once you complete task 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we will tell you at the end of the process how to go back and to put them all together into one document. However, you can on the side begin combining them on the side. You just don't submit them to us until the very end. We want one task at a time. Tara, does that answer the question?
Evaluation right here. And this is where we want your final work that you are then going to put to the side and save until you get ready to put everything together to go to your task stream evaluator. Dr. Stedman and I have done this long evaluators, but we know what the evaluator is looking for. We want everyone to score the highest score, which is a 4. You have to get a 3, but we shoot for a 4, and we know that you will too. Now, if we go back and forth 2 or 3 times and you still don't get it, if we think it's going to be a 3, I'm going to tell you to move on, because we don't have time for you to revise over and over and over again. That's why I'm saying in this review process, take your time and do your revisions correctly the time when you turn it in, because we don't have time to keep going back on, no, you fixed this, but not this, or, we don't have time for that. You'll get too far behind. And so just take your time and make sure you address everything that we pointed out to you.
Dr. Revis, can you hear me now? I was losing connection for a second there.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, did they get the part about just submitting one task at a time until the end of the process? Did that come through okay?
Yes.
Dr. Revis, can we while you've got everything up, can you go to the AAPSL helpful hints and go to task 2? We won't spend but a second on that, but I think it's important that
My favorite document, friends, my favorite document. Did it come up?
yes. Okay.
Let me scroll down to task 2.
And again, this is just a reminder. This is nothing due this week. You need just to begin thinking about task 2 as we're closing out today, just thinking about it. Remember, right now, you're not your PLC team, you're not working with looking at data. You're not, all you're doing is forming that team and you're thanking them for serving. Now, after this first meeting, when you meet with them the next time, that's when you will begin looking at task 2. Now, the first time, Dr. Revis, go back to the first heading. It says data collection strategies, prompt 1.
Right, you're good.
Yeah. Your heading is data collection strategies. There's these strategies, they tell you step by step what you're going to do. All we're going to do today is to tell you that as soon as you finish task 1, don't wait until Dr. Revis and I have class again. Begin looking at this, familiarizing yourself with it, and begin filling in the blank with what you do know and understand. But you're going to, once you get the team, you've got to hit the road running with pulling together, and you can go ahead and start doing this, pulling together your school report card, pulling together, if you've gone through advanced ed, Cognia, whatever your system uses for accreditation, pulling that information in there. The school report card, the
EBOS.
The teacher working most recent teacher working condition survey, the most recent benchmark test. If it's down in the primary grades, and you're looking at whatever reading assessments that you use or math assessments that you use, anything that's going to provide you with data that your team and you can look at and begin breaking down your data dives. You need to pull it out, get everything that you can think of. But you're going to look at your strategies, and then there's examples there. Again, once you do that, you're going to how are you going to do this? Your criteria and process for identifying the most pressing need. We told you already, don't say, well, we know what the most pressing need. No, you don't. You think you know. But at this point, you've got to go through the process. How are you going, you and your team, going to that? You are leading your team in this process. So what you're going to say in all of this, I led the team, or the team and I did this. And, you've got to show your leadership throughout. Then you're going to collaborate on how you're going to analyze that data. Your team and you're not going to make that decision by yourself. You and your team are going to talk about that. Go ahead, Dr. Revis, and we'll come on down. We've given examples of that. Come on down. That's your collaboration, working with your team. And then after you've done all that, and you've broken it down, and you've dissected it, your team has talked about everything that they can talk about, you and your team are going to say, after doing all of this, guess what? This is the most pressing need at our school. Based on the data, this is what it says. And that's what you're going to say there. And you're going to say how you got to that decision. That's all we're going to say tonight, Dr. Revis. That's enough for them to begin thinking about and to get started on that once they get to that point. But you're not there yet. We're not even going to talk about 2 yet. We'll talk about that next week, prompt 2. So, Dr. Revis, if you can stop sharing.
Sure. And it's
then-
okay, guys. If you want to in your organizational meeting, it's okay to talk about, to give them a little foreshadow of the next thing we're going to do is a data dive.
But don't do it.
But don't do it in that first meeting. You'll need
Okay.
to do that next week.
Right. All we wanted to do tonight was to show you need to always understand what the next step is going to be. However, your primary focus this week is to get task 1 completed for our review and for your peer review. By Sunday night, Zach, I'm going to pick on you. Zach, what is due on Sunday night by 9 o'clock?
Task 1.
Task 1. Okay. Jolynn, by Tuesday at 6 o'clock, what must have been completed? How many peer reviews? 2. And Shannon, with those peer reviews, tell me what you're going to do with those peer reviews once you do them. Once you complete them, what are you going to do with them?
The first thing we're going to do is send them back to the author. And then we're
Okay.
going to submit them to you all for you
Right,
to
and they,
review.
and they go in 2 different places, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. So everybody know what to do now. Now, by this Sunday night, the only thing that is, no, this past Sunday night, your contact information was due to us. So if you have not gotten back to us at this point, and there's only 3 or 4, get that contact information to us as well. Tracy, as soon as you can, get that out so your team will know how to reach out to you. Okay. Okay. Questions?
May I ask one more question?
Yes, you may. You could ask 2.
Okay, just one more. When Dr. Stedman and I give you feedback on task 1, and we ask you to revise something, Pam, when is that? When are your revisions due back to us?
They are due by Thursday night.
Great.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Can I go ahead with a question while I'm
Sure.
on here?
Sure.
So I work at a virtual school and we're K through 12. But so for my PLC, for the sign in, because all of my meetings will be in Zoom since we're a
Zoom?
virtual school.
All you do is
Right.
copy Zoom and put that link in there. You can have them to sign in Zoom and give that to us.
Okay, awesome.
That's all you have to do, Pam.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and tell you this now. This first week, this Sunday, now all you're doing is focusing on task 1 this Sunday, okay? Because you have to get started. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and be thinking about it. Don't want to scare you, Alex, but I want y'all to be thinking about this, okay? Next week, week 3, that not this Sunday night, but next Sunday night, guess what? From that point on, you will always have a task that you are submitting for review and a task that you are submitting for final evaluation. This first Sunday night is only going to be for review. But after this Sunday night, there will be, until we get the AAPSL finished, there will always be an AAPSL task for review, and there will be an AAPSL task for evaluation on that Sunday night. So as you are planning your week, plan your week so that, okay, you know, I am devoting this much time. You don't want to have to be behind the 8 ball on Sunday afternoon and stressing up until 9 o'clock, trying to get something done that if you had spaced your time out during the week. And I said that to Alex. Alex gets up at 4:30 in the morning and does work a lot of times. I see the time that he sends me emails. I'm not saying that everybody can do that or whatever, but he's working with what works for him. Also, he has a little girl and he has another one on the way. So he's already planning how he's going to do that when the baby gets here as well. So
He must get the 3 a.m. feedings. Oh, I got to
yeah,
say.
yeah. So, but anyway, but Alex,
So-
let me tell you, I said that to say this too. You see how much Dr. Revis and I pay attention to details for all of you. We already know a lot about every one of you. That's our job.
So when you get your revisions to us on Thursday night, hopefully you're fine and we say you're ready to submit it to the assignment Dropbox. Do it then. Go ahead and get that out of the way. Okay. So that you've got that done. That is supposed to be due by Sunday evening, but you've got that done already.
And let me tell you something, as those of you that are already working in administration, you already know this, that timelines and deadlines are vitally important. We tell you that it's due on Sunday night, but I'm going to tell you, and Dr. Revis, I think you probably practiced this as well. When I was a sitting principal, I never, ever put down something on the exact day it was due. I always put on my calendar ahead of time due dates. And I had so much going on. Guess what? I didn't even think about that. I went ahead and had it done because in my mind, that's what I thought. So, you know, in your mind, you may want to think, can I reasonably say that I'm not even going to wait until Sunday night to get all this work due that's due? I'm going to work around, 12-point font times New Roman. That Dr. Revis said that. But, you know, try to plan as much as you can so that you're not working up until 9 o'clock and stressing at the last minute on things. Try to figure this out. And you're already busy lives, and we understand all that. Okay.
And
I'm already proud of all of you for being here week 2.
You've made it 2 weeks, and you will get into the rhythm and pattern of how things are due. It'll get very easy to you after about 3 weeks.
It will. You'll begin to see how you're going to figure all of this into your busy life already. It will work. Just remember, I've been doing this for 10 years for Gardner Webb. Dr. Revis, almost about the same time. We have gone through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students. You're not by yourself at this point, but I can promise you this with all my heart. Anybody that sticks with us through the 3 and 4 weeks, they look back and they say, Dr. Stedman, Dr. Revis, you were right. We hung in there and you were right. We hit the nail on the head. I promise you, you'll say that to us. Okay.
Check your Gardner Webb email at least once a day. I would check it twice a day. I don't know how to send Gardner Webb email to your phone. We used to could do that. We cannot now. So just make it a habit. That's all I can tell you.
Just do that. Okay. Kathleen, you have a question?
Yeah, it might just be because I can't do math in my head right now. I just was looking at making a schedule for our peer review groups. If everybody is doing 2 peer reviews a week, some people will have more than one peer review person each week. Is that correct?
Okay.
So like if we have 6 people in our group and everybody's doing 2, some people are going to have more than one.
Yes.
Yes, everybody should have 2.
Okay. And that's okay as long as you are completing 2 peer reviews and everybody's getting somebody reviewing their work. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Okay. Good question. Okay, guys, we will see you on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And again, Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton, they're going to give you some valuable information on Thursday night. And then after 4 weeks, the Thursday nights go away for a while. So we only have one more after that, but the first 4 weeks are pretty intensive. But guess what? After Thursday, you'll be halfway through them. So that's the way we can look at it. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.